singles are burnt out. They're upset, they're dissatisfied, they're frustrated. They deserve intentional dating.
Jennifer Champion is a true Cupid of the modern age. With over 20 years of experience in matchmaking, Jennifer has helped hundreds of professionals find the meaningful love they've been searching for. She's the creator of the DateShape Method, a proven approach that's transforming how busy, high-achieving singles connect. And if that wasn't impressive enough, she was recently inducted into the Houston Business Hall of Fame. So, are you in DateShape? Let's find out.
If you could ask one question to match singles, what would it be? And I was like, and it would be politics. Because it's really about values at the end of the day. And chemistry. Can you handle the truth?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so.
I know. Okay, so the number one for men that are hiring a matchmaker, in this case, obviously me at DateShape, is...
No way. Good morning, Runner viewers, and good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning.
I'm super excited to power walk with you this morning and talk everything dating and matchmaking.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course. I think we have a lot to cover, so let's dive in.
Okay, let's do it.
You've been a matchmaker for over 20 years now.
Correct.
What's your why?
So, first and foremost, my dad.
Okay.
Who we lost almost a decade ago, and he taught us, my brother and sister and I, to do what you love. To do what you love. Because when you love your work, it's not work, right? It's your passion. And so do what you love is number one. And also, if I may have two.
Oh, you sure?
You know, singles deserve a better way to date than what's happening in today's world. And I know we're gonna dive into like the landscape and over 20 years, right?
Yes.
But like, you know, singles are burnt out. They're upset, they're dissatisfied, they're frustrated. They deserve intentional dating. And, you know, that is matchmaking and aligning the values, right? Aligning their lifestyle and things that make them tick so that they can share in those hobbies and their goals, their relationship goals, which right now I think that's just not happening on the apps for single.
So how many couples have you successfully matched?
So I was thinking about that last night. Hundreds, right? Hundreds.
Wow.
My singles are dating with goal of marriage or committed life partnership, right? And so not everyone's gonna get married, right? And let's define like a relationship, right? Like long term. I've had singles that have dated for a year, for years, right? Gotten married in life partnerships, and maybe marriage isn't the end goal, right?
Well, and you never know. I mean, when you start dating, right, you wanna make it work, but
well, and you know, so I walk singles through my method, which is the first 3 dates, early dating, and we'll dive into that. But once they get off and running, like they're on their own, right? And so, of course, I would hope they're gonna let me know we're getting married, and you know that you know line of communication is always open. Like I become very close with my clients, right? But in my former employer, I know that I've had couples that did end up getting married, but like I wasn't told it by them, if that makes sense. But now at DateShape, they're gonna, I'm hopefully sitting front row. At the wedding, right? You know.
Well, walk us through your DateShape method and why do you think it's unique?
Okay, so I'm changing the way we date.
Okay.
That's my goal. I want to change the way singles approach dating by the DateShape Method. And date one is a casual coffee, cocktail, or mocktail. Not everyone drinks.
True.
And my singles live a healthy lifestyle, and maybe they'll have a drink, you know, but a lot of them say, I don't really drink. Good. Don't drink on a first date, actually. You know what I mean? Like, we're intentional. And guess what? Singles know within 30 minutes, men and women know within 30 minutes.
Whether they want to continue or not?
If there's chemistry.
Okay.
If there's energy. And the longer a first date goes, the more things come up. Too many drinks, too much conversation, too much shared information. 1 to 2 hours. You know if there's chemistry, right? And
So you feel like if you're trying to persuade yourself, oh, let's make it work, that might not be right.
or you know if you have chemistry. So with me, it's so different. I've often struggled with how do I give singles advice, because through a matchmaker, I'm aligning your values, religion, politics. I know if women have their eggs frozen. You know what I mean? Like those conversations, I've done that deep work with the singles. So I'm aligning all of that. They don't have to go into that on a first date, right?
Okay. Oh, they already know.
They already know. I've done the work.
Okay.
And so what they're evaluating is chemistry. Everyone wants chemistry.
Yeah.
And I have to be mindful. There's no every, there's no all, there's no none, right? But most singles that I work with, they want chemistry. They want that attraction, right? And so you know that very quick when you meet someone, if that feeling's there, right?
Okay. So the first date then
is a coffee, cocktail, mocktail to evaluate chemistry and compatibility.
Okay.
Okay, boom, 1 to 2 hours.
Okay.
We have a feedback call the following day.
Okay.
Which, I can go into that in a little bit. But second date is an activity like this.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, go do something. Let those endorphins start, flowing through your body.
Yeah.
The oxytocin, the dopamine, the positivity and talk. Like right now, I'm like, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk. You know what I mean? Like, things are just flowing and that energy's there. And so women always say to me, I want someone that makes me feel protective. I want a man that's going to take the lead. I want a masculine man. Go gun shoot. Is he going to be that? Is he going to protect you and not let you walk in front of him? You know what I mean? Axe throwing. Something that's going to really show you their character. So second date is an activity to evaluate character and personality. My joke is go drive on I-10 during rush hour, right?
Rent a Ferrari.
Yeah. If you want to know someone, get in rush hour on I-10 at 5 p.m.
True.
Right?
See the level of his rage.
Seriously, like as mindful as I am, I find myself slipping on I-10. So that's my joke, but you get the point, right?
Yes.
Like allow it to, show you who they are, their character. So second date's for the ladies. Third date, now have that dinner. Go sit down 2 hours. Maybe it's a picnic in Galveston at that point. You know what I mean? Like it's personal, it's intentional. You can have that conversation like, we really like each other. This is clicking. Yay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's the method versus a fancy first date dinner on for the first time meeting someone. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's the way to go in dating anymore.
Oh, I like some of the things. So how do you vet your potential matches?
Thank you. So I try to meet everyone.
Okay.
I office out of Lifetime Work in City Center, the AWS building, and I love to meet everyone. And I think that is so important. I drove and met a client on Thursday downtown. Like I will go and meet my clients because having that live interaction, sitting there, feeling their energy, watching their facial expressions and, feeling them, right? And so that's so important. It's such a personal service and it's a private service.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you will never know that I have this many clients. You know what I mean? Like I honor their privacy and I'm not going to talk about this client, that client, and it is a private service. But I have some that are like screaming from the mountaintops. You introduced us, Sarah and Dale. They let me promote them, and anyway, so it's a very personal choice and service.
And then, what questions would you typically ask?
So, it's interesting. If you had asked me this 6 years ago, it would have been a different questionnaire sheet, right?
Okay.
Today, basics. Your age range, you know, do you have children? What's your relationship goals? Politics, religion.
Wow.
Politics, religion.
That's insane.
I have to go there. I mean, a little fuzzy warm, like get to know you. And then I'm like, okay, is religion important to you? Do you affiliate with the party? You know what I mean? And I'll tell you this, I think this is interesting. Someone asked me if you could ask one question to match singles, what would it be? And I was like, and it would be politics.
That's insane. I would never think that way.
It would be politics, because politics is going to most likely give you so many more of your values, right? And in today's world, you know, it's delicate. It's delicate. And I would also tell singles, share, if you're comfortable, share your values, share your politics, share your religion with the people that you know, so that they can say, okay, it's not just she's a cool chick, he's a great guy, I want to match them. Okay, they share values. Because it's really about values at the end of the day. And chemistry. Of course.
But you're, I mean, I guess if I'm thinking forward, right? Once you get married and then life happens, right? You have kids, you need to decide, you want to, if you're very religious, right? One partner.
Yes.
One partner might want to get baptized, the other doesn't.
Correct.
So all these
Correct.
conflicts start to happen. So it's good that that's being discussed. I just never thought about it.
And I have to dive into it. So you're going to church? Are you going every Sunday? Are you going once a month? Are you gonna, go together? Do you need your partner to go with you? Are you gonna raise your kids that religion? Do you want? I mean, that is really deep diving.
Deep diving.
Yeah. And so that question comes up, but it takes about 10 minutes. Both of those can go really long with, explaining it, me understanding if you're in the middle, can you go a little left? Can you go a little right? Can, or if you're on the ends, can you come in a little? I mean, it's different now. It's very different.
Interesting. What do you think your successful clients have in common?
So, the ones that hire me, or the ones that I've connected?
Ones that hired you.
So the ones that hire me are committed. They're intentional.
Okay.
And just like at a gym, if you hire a trainer, you're serious. If you pay a trainer, you're gonna show up, right?
Yes.
You've made that financial, emotional commitment to that, that lesson, that training. Same with me. They are invested. They're emotionally invested, they're financially invested, and they follow my method. They value my services, right? They value my knowledge. And that's matchmaking, and that's what I think I want to educate singles on. There's value here. Like, I'm doing those deep conversations for you, so you don't have to. You know what I mean? And it's such an incredible, beautiful service, and my relationship with my clients is personal, and I love helping them and guiding them in that.
And I think from your experience, you're asking the questions that you know are important.
Yes.
And some people or some singles might not even think about it. All they think about is chemistry. But then,
they think about chemistry.
Exactly. But then there are other things that are
or they think about
important.
personality.
Yeah, so it's good that you're guiding them.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah. No, again, like if a friend was setting you up, it would be about personality.
Yeah.
And it would be, she's cute, he's cute, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're fun and they're social. But I know those conversations, I have those conversations that are going to reveal the values, which is what creates a successful long-term relationship.
Perfect. You work with both men and women.
Yes.
What are the top maybe characteristics or qualities that each group is looking for in their potential matches?
Okay. Can you handle the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope so.
I know. Okay, so the number one for men that are hiring a matchmaker, in this case, obviously me at DateShape, is fit.
No way.
Are you saying that joking or you mean it?
No, I wouldn't think about it.
Number one is fit.
Okay.
Okay? And
right.
their men are.
We have some
Yay.
potential right here.
Give it up for the fit girls. Look, they're visual creatures, okay? And I can break this down even more if you want. Men are visual creatures, and you know, they want a woman that takes care of her body, values her body, and also sharing that lifestyle, right? Like if they're fit and they're working out and that's important to them, they want to share that with their partner. And that is going to give so much more. That's going to give discipline. That's going to give grit. That's going to give, you know, goal oriented, right?
Okay.
You do value your body if you're going to the gym. You enjoy fitness. Like pulling up here today, Memorial Park, I'm like, yes, like that energy. You know what I mean? I'm like, get it, people. And so that is also part of what they're looking for, right? Okay, so, but then I need to say, it doesn't stop there. Okay, let me make sure. Yeah, it's not you're fit and you're hot and yay. Then it's got to be the emotional and intellectual connection as well. Trust me. So that first date is for the men. I said second date was for the ladies. I did say that.
You did.
First date is for the men. They know within 5 minutes if the physical's there. And so that's why it's a coffee, cocktail, mocktail, 1 to 2 hours. And both know. Women know within 30 minutes. We're a little more emotionally assessing, right? Like, like women will be like, oh, but he's so nice. And
what does it make you feel?
Yeah, I'll give it a second date. I would go, and you know, men are pretty clear on that first date, right? So, you know, and then for women want that security. They want to feel safe. They want to feel eventually loved. And they want a man that's going to take the lead, right?
That's true.
Yes, at least in early dating.
Yes.
They may want to take it over, you know, or hopefully some want to take it over, the planning. And many men will be like, please plan, honey. Like, I'm working, like, plan, you know, go for it. Trips take a long time to plan. And so women want that financial security, I'd say probably first, right? But women also want the physical. They also want the physical. I mean, I have plenty of women look at a profile I'll send them and say, I'm not attracted. And, you know, that's another thing, like you don't always know from a picture. But anyway, so men and women are physical. I'd say, you know, men tend to want the emotional and also the, you know, the intellect, you know, after the physical. Women may be a little more emotionally in tuned up front. But they've got to feel the attraction too. Everybody wants the chemistry. That's why my first date is a chemistry check. Right?
Okay, interesting. So then how would you cater your approach, if any, towards your male and your female customers?
Yeah, I mean, so I know so many singles, right? Like hundreds of singles. I host events to meet singles. Like my events are recruiting for me. And you know, intentional singles don't stay single, right? Like if you're looking, if you're active, your goal is to meet someone. And if you do and you like them, you're gonna be like, yeah, I met someone, I'm good right now. So it's always about me meeting new singles, interviewing new singles, promoting on social media, my events. My questionnaire is in my bio. Like anyone interested in matchmaking, fill out my questionnaire. I check that daily. And so, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, you did. So then, I know many singles too.
Oh, good.
And
are you?
No.
Okay.
But it seems like many, or we have checklists right now, right?
Yeah.
There are things that we want, and which is good, but a woman wants a tall man with a well-paid job, with
Right.
a nice house and car who would take care of her with certain political views and
Right.
religious beliefs. I mean, are we wanting too much these days? How realistic it's even to have it
Right,
all?
correct. And yes, a long list is, no one's a long list. Okay, no one's a long list. So my method, not only the date 1, 2, and 3, but is to identify your top
Okay.
2 or 3 must-haves.
Okay.
Because no one's a long list, and
Yes.
you're not going to get it all. And if you intentionally sit down and think about your, write them all out. Go ahead, write out all 20 that most women give me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can, put those together, right? Like the religion will bring you other values. The politics will bring you other values. The lifestyle will bring you some of that list. And if, everybody's in control of, am I attracted, right?
Yeah.
So like saying, I want to be attracted. Yes, we all do. But that when you meet them, you'll feel that energy. And be open to meeting someone that shares your values. And you would not believe chemistry can slap you out of left field. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do believe you.
Have you gone on a date before and you're like, probably not. But then you're like, oh my gosh.
I think I had the opposite. I was like, oh, and then like, oh, that may be not the right thing.
So wait, what happened?
The opposite, where you have chemistry first and then you find out that
okay.
maybe it's not the right fit.
Right. And people always say that chemistry's not always good at first. With me, it's fabulous because I've aligned your values. I've aligned your
Well,
goals.
yeah, because you're doing all this work.
If
which is
you
great.
feel chemistry, I'm like, rock on. Like
Yeah.
that is magic.
Perfect.
Magic. But if you feel that chemistry on a first date off an app, great, check. You know what I mean? But like you've got to dig deeper. Go on an activity date.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you've got to be okay wanting to find out and learn more and not starting the fantasy in your head. Right? And so with me, that's awesome.
Yeah. So then going back to those lists, how do you coach someone
That has a long list?
Yeah, with unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process, right? But like definitely identifying those top 2 or 3.
Okay.
And getting them to really, nail them down, right? Because I'll be like, okay, when I'm interviewing, what are your must-haves? I promote 2 or 3. I understand if you have more right now. And then most women will start talking and they go to 3. And then they're like, add a 4th and a 5th and a 6th.
Just like with a guest invite list for the wedding.
Yeah, it just keeps going. I'm like, okay, we'll worry about that later if you sign up with me, because that's my coaching, right? Like that is what I do, and I help singles have clarity in their must-have so that they can identify a true connection and also what's not a connection, so that they can go on a first date and be like, you have this, you have this, you have this. Those are my must-haves. Do I feel that chemistry? I do. Yay, 1 to 2 hours. Go home. Go home.
And you have several types of services, I guess. The coaching, right? Because you're
Correct.
referring to that. And then
Yes.
the matchmaking. What's the difference?
So a lot of women hire me for coaching, right?
Okay.
And so, that's beautiful because I get to know them personally. I get to know them, their values, their must-haves. And then they become part of my network. And they've invested in me. They know my method. I'm going to invest in them.
Yeah.
And if I know someone that's a fit in my network or my client base, I'm going to match them.
Yeah.
When I'm successful at matchmaking is because I know those 2 people really well, right?
Yeah.
And the more singles I get to know through coaching, through events, obviously hiring me for matchmaking, the better I can connect and match.
Okay. And then I think when you and I spoke before, you mentioned that women usually hire you for coaching,
Right.
but men hire you for matchmaking.
Yes.
So why do you think this is happening?
Well, a lot of women will say, I'm not going to pay for a matchmaker. I don't need a matchmaker. I should be free.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I will say, I recruit, and if I recruit you or meet you and you are a fit, great, you will be free. You will be free, right?
Yeah.
But you know, in terms of someone wanting to be free and me giving my services and, you know, me sharing my knowledge of 20 plus years, you need to invest.
Yeah, well,
if you want me to invest in you and set you up on dates, like, you know, that I need that investment back.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's touch on trends.
Okay.
Right, you already you already mentioned at the beginning that in the past 5 to 10 years, seems like religion and politics are two things that are important. Anything else that has changed since COVID? Or?
Yeah. So, you know, when I used to work for It's Just Lunch, I worked for It's Just Lunch for 20 years, matchmaker, recruiter for them.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, our interviews were very different from what I do at DateShape, right?
Okay.
And I'm really diving into those values, obviously, today, right? But the swipe mentality and the dating landscape of today has created such a disposable mentality, right? Like,
really?
Well, singles, I feel, think there's so many options, right? And if like you go on a date and you don't like them, okay, I'll just get back on the app.
Okay.
Or if you do like someone, you still are drawn back to the app to see what else is out there. But guess what? Someone that you're attracted to, that shares your values, your vision for the future, your personality traits, your love languages, your relationship goals, that's not everywhere. And I have always said, up until I'd say 6 months ago, I was like, be selective, like good. You know, I want you to be selective. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, you don't know from a picture, right? You know if you have the potential of attraction. And again, chemistry is mega important, right? But I'm telling you, like, if the values align, if the lifestyle aligns, if vision for the future relationship goals align, you could be so shocked that when you meet this person, that energy, that chemistry just comes out of left field. And don't be afraid to go on a coffee date, a 1 hour date. You know what I mean? And like, just find out if that's there. And you're not locked in. Like, you can say, all right, I need to go. Like, it's okay. I had a date the other night. He had plans to go to his family, and it was like 45 minutes. And they had a nice conversation. They had a great time. And 45 minutes, it's okay. Like, don't feel like it has to be 2-3 hours on a first date. So anyway, what has changed is being overly selective. And if you look back at my past posts, I mean, I have posts on there, be selective, yay selective. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, don't be so selective. You know what I mean? Like, evaluate the personality, evaluate, lifestyle. Because when you do things with someone that you enjoy, travel, fitness, that's hot.
Yeah, it is.
That's hot, right? And that will produce excitement in your relationship.
Absolutely. What do you think are the biggest challenges that singles face now then?
So again, like going back to if they do meet on an app, right? And they are excited about the pictures and think there is going to be chemistry, right? Going on that date and not having that hard, deep dive conversation. And I don't think you should do it on a first date. I don't. Even on an app date, don't go there. Like, people are like, I'm going there now. I get it. But like, get on the video before a date, or maybe ask one question. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't do that. I'd go on a coffee date like this, like after a walk, after a Pilates class, after work. I had a couple go out and meet up for a coffee at 8:30 a.m. For an hour. You know what I mean?
Well, it's natural. I mean,
Is there chemistry? Great. Go do an activity. Is there compatibility? Do I feel the things I should feel around this person? Third date. Go for it. Have that conversation. Then you've invested probably 2-3 hours at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. You like them. You're attracted to them. That's important. But do we have the rest, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to have that intentional conversation. But I wouldn't do it first date. I wouldn't. You can explore.
Yeah.
In your questioning, but just am I attracted? Do I like this person's energy, their vibe?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Okay. What's trending these days? What's hot? What's not hot in the dating world?
What's hot? What's not hot?
Yeah.
I'd
What lingo do we need to know?
Yeah, that's interesting. So for me, what's hot is the third date is, what was a first date at DateShape, right? Like third date is now the new, first date. That's at DateShape, right? I can talk about DateShape. And singles are jumping on and getting why I'm like 1 to 2 hours. And that was hard for singles. They're like 1 to 2 hours. What if I'm having a great time? And let me say, for a first date, 1 to 2 hours for a first date.
Okay.
And they're like, what if I'm having a great time? Good. That's what you wanted. Now get out of there. Go home.
Why?
Because too many drinks, too many shared stories.
Okay.
Too many places, too much, too soon. It's, it's overload. It's stimulation, information, overload.
Okay.
Right? And you're on a date, so you're gonna be your best. You're gonna be happy. You're gonna smile. You're gonna be like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're gonna go home and be like, why did I say that? Ew, why did they say that? You know what I mean? And you start breaking down. There's too much to break down.
Okay.
Right? Be glad you had a good time in 1 to 2 hours. Be glad there was chemistry. Check. Chemistry check. Go home. Then go do something. I'm telling you, it works. I didn't just make it up for fun. I didn't make it up for fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
let's talk about successful and strong women as we consider ourselves.
great.
So it seems like women are more educated now and career driven. At the same time, it's harder for them than ever to find the right match. Why do you think this is happening?
Yeah, so I mean, I get it because I am hardworking and love my work, and yes, I put a lot into it every day. And I think it's beautiful that women have their career or have their own passions, right? And men always say to me, I want a woman with a passion. Do they necessarily have to have a hardcore career? No, but every man I work with, and I can say every, says I want her to have a passion, right? And maybe that is her career. But
Dang it, I met you too late.
What's that?
I said I met you too late. I will come with all the passion.
I know.
With all work and be
I know. I was like, are they
chilling.
single? Yeah. Well, I'm here for you.
In the
if
gym.
you need. Yeah. No, totally. But women want men to take the lead, and men want to be able to take that lead, right? And so even if you're like strong in your work, powerful, that's great. And you want to share that with your partner, but also allow him to take the lead, right? And if one is, both are working hard, then there's got to be that combination or that conversation, about like, how are we handling this trip? Yeah. Are you planning it? Am I planning it? Are we doing it together? I'm not a big fan of like masculine, feminine energy. Like be you at DateShape, right? Like that's my job to match you with your energy, your personality. But like, let him take the lead if that
Which is harder often for women who are stronger, right?
Right. But you've got to be you, and it's got to be the right personality types. And I think at the end of the day, if you're sharing values and you're sharing personality types and you're with a man that respects your work, who you are, then, that's beautiful. That shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure there's the balance, right?
Okay. That's cool. What advice would you give to someone who's looking for love?
Great. So do you want to start with female, male?
Sure. Let's do
Okay.
that.
All right. Well, I mean, both. I'm jumping around, but both, I would say, be very clear on your must-haves, right? Like those 2 or 3, right?
Okay.
Don't have a long list. It's hurting singles, and no one's a long list, right? And so, identify your top 2 or 3 and own it. And be okay if you meet someone and they're not that. And you have to say, it was great meeting you. I enjoyed it. I wish you well in your search. Like, it's okay that if it's not a fit too, right? And then for women, I think women would benefit in understanding on first dates that if a man is talking a lot, right, that is a good sign, okay? Because men's receiving love language and giving typically is time and touch, right?
Okay.
And so on a first date, if a man's talking and he's, doing a lot of talking, he's enjoying your time, okay? And if he's not asking questions, I get it, that doesn't feel good because, positive communication is giving and receiving, right?
Okay.
But don't necessarily be like, he didn't ask me anything, he doesn't like me. Like, look at
it
it.
sometimes feels that way.
Right, and I get it. But then I would say, okay, if you were attracted to him and you liked what he said, he just wasn't as, asking you questions, go on a second date activity and explore that character more.
Shoot.
Yeah, let him, right. And find out if that was just him being also excited, right? It could have been a very positive thing because he was talking.
Okay.
And then, for men, look, men are visual, right? And they are going to want that visual on a first date, and they're going to want that physical. But, also remember the personality, the character, the values. Those are extremely important. And I'd say to everyone, my biggest, best advice, go on a coffee date. Go on a coffee date, go on a cocktail date if you want a cocktail or a mocktail, when it fits into your life.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
It
again,
doesn't have to be in the evening or
it
Friday,
doesn't have
Saturday
to
night.
be a big production. It could be a coffee before work. I think I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Coffee before work, 45 minutes. A cocktail, mocktail after work, an hour. You know what I mean? Like, make dating easy. Don't make it a production. Don't get caught up in the fantasy. Don't think, oh my God, they're so cute. Like, dream away, right? No, like, in the moment, be present, take a deep breath, and evaluate. And find out if those characteristics and those values are there. With me, they're there.
Yeah. Well, you've done all the groundwork.
Yeah, I've done the deep dive, is what I call it, right?
Yeah.
But if you're doing it on your own, you want to follow my method, even if you're not in my network, which I would love for everyone to be.
Yeah, we'll put the link so they can fill the questionnaire.
Fill out the questionnaire in my bio.
Yes.
But yes, so did that help?
Yeah, absolutely. What advice did you receive? Or what was the best maybe relationship advice that you received that you could share?
The best relationship advice. Okay, well, I'm a big fan of the love languages. Okay, I'm a huge fan of the love languages, and I think they're very important. Do I align love languages in my matchmaking? Not necessarily, but I let every single know who they're meeting, they're receiving love languages, right? And giving's important too, but I'm telling receiving, right? Okay, and they won't kick in until a third date, because if you show up with flowers on a first date, it can be okay, but I just wouldn't. Play it safe, right? Like, play it safe on a first date, if she's gifts, is what I'm saying, right? So love languages are huge. Make sure that you're giving your partner their receiving love language at least 10 minutes a week, okay? So you want to give that to your partner, and if it's touch, it's a massage, it's, walking, holding hands, we won't PG, but you know what I mean? If it's time, you're listening, you're sitting, you're giving them your attention, phone down, right? You're letting them feel heard, okay? And, make sure you're giving your partner their receiving love language 10 minutes a week. I don't think that's too much, right?
Absolutely not. Well, I'm presuming in your method you do that vetting, so you check love language of the person.
Yes.
Would you recommend, if somebody who's not using your services, would you recommend that person to check?
Find out.
Yeah,
find out. Like, again, probably third date conversation, the intentional aspect of the third date, because I think it would feel funny if you were trying to hold their hand on a first date, right? Or you were giving them flowers. Some women are okay with it, but I just wouldn't. But anyway, yes, I think the love languages are super valuable. I think it's important to make sure that you're giving your partner their receiving love language. Again, I think Gary Chapman said 10 minutes a week.
Okay.
Right? It's not like,
I remember.
yeah, 10 minutes a week. Sit and listen. And, I'll go back to the first dates with women. Like, if a man's talking away, you're giving him his love language, right?
Yeah.
And so, it makes someone feel good. It makes them feel seen. It makes them feel appreciated.
How do you help someone who was hurt or maybe afraid to be vulnerable? What do you tell that person? I know you work with intentional singles, but still, even if we have intentions, we might have, hard breakup or divorce.
Yeah, for sure. So I meditate. I teach mindfulness at DateShape, and I believe in giving yourself love, right? And being your own best friend, your own compassionate friend. And if you've been hurt, you're not alone. Most people have been hurt, but honor yourself and give yourself the love you need, right? Because you don't want to bring that into a new relationship. And quite frankly, this is something we didn't talk about, but on a first date, you don't have to tell everyone everything. Don't. In fact, don't. You're there to evaluate the chemistry and my last trip was here. My last awesome play I saw was here. I went to the symphony last week. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like, my last relationship was so bad and I'm so hurt. Like, that's not positive. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying lie. Like, don't lie. But at the same time, just don't bring it up. And if something is brought up that you don't want to talk about, I always say, I'm going to give it to you guys a little tip. How about those Astros? Get out of that conversation. Just get out of it. How about those Astros? It's Astro season, so we can use it now, right? But like, don't go there. And if you have to manage that. If you feel it going there into that negative deep dive, get out of it.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. How about you? Do you still believe in love?
Of course, absolutely. I love my work. I love my kids. I love my life. I love my body. And that is my space right now. And there's not a lot of, are you talking about for me personally?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Because you've seen, the best and then maybe the worst. And it's good to see your perspective.
For sure. And what I feel is that no one's going to be everything. No, not one person, your partner is not going to be your everything. And I think it's super important that you do have a passion. Just like my men say, they want their partner to have a passion. It's super important because then that lifts you up. That allows for you to have something you can do and not be dependent on your partner, right?
Absolutely.
But look, I feel that the values are so important. And what you want as a 20, 30-year-old single is way different than what you want as a 50, 60 plus single after divorce.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And the lifestyle is so important later in life. Where are we going? What are we watching? What are we doing? Like, are we going to church, right? Like, what you're doing. Are we going to Memorial Park for a run today? Those things after a marriage and kids become so important, right? And in the beginning, like early dating, it's more about raising a family.